Hello, Younger Old here, and once again welcome to my channel. Something I talk about with trainees, and I've actually seen a lot of posts on YouTube, is regarding the size of bike. You know, what is the best size? Some people say 600 is all you need, some say smaller, or why do some people prefer bigger bikes? I myself, I do prefer the larger bikes. So wait till after the intro and I'll give you my views on this subject. My first bike as a 17-year-old was a Suzuki B120. Very small, but you know, you can only have a 250 at that point until you pass your test, and I couldn't really afford a 250, so I bought this 120, 225 quid all in, including my year's insurance and road tax. 18 months later the bike was totally trashed, and I never really bothered with the bike again for many years, I suppose, until finances allowed, just in time for the midlife crisis. My neighbour who lived next to me had a ZX10 Kawasaki. Now I don't mean the modern sort of ZX10 sports bike version. This was an older bike, 1987, but it was basically the pre-runner to the ZR 1100. His wife had just passed her test and they wanted something smaller so they could both ride it, and this bike was up for sale, and I suppose that just spurred me, right, I'm going to get my licence and I'm going to buy that bike, and that's what I did. From the moment I had that bike, I just rode it everywhere. Every spare moment I was on my bike. I managed to do a bit of a tour on it. I went across to Wales, then up through Ireland, watched the Northwest 200 racing, then across to Scotland, back down through the Lake District. I had a great time on it. I was happy with the bike, loved it, so much power. But sadly, I was taking it for a service one day, and some Mondeo thought it would look good as an ornament on the bonnet of his car, so the bike was written off. While I was waiting for the insurance to pay out, I was doing all my research on what bike I wanted next, and it just came down to choice of one. I wanted nothing else other than a Honda Blackbird. So obviously, money in hand with a nice insurance payout, I went and purchased one of those. When I first got it, it was just absolutely amazing. It's probably still one of my favourite bikes of all time. I absolutely loved it. Went everywhere on it, did a few tours, the power and everything. I think the fact is, well, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I must have been a bit of a poser. It was quite nice just riding, you know, the biggest, baddest bike on the road at the time. About 20 miles from where I lived at the time, there was a Harley dealership, and I basically just used to call in there every time I passed and go and get a free coffee. And one day, one of the salesmen asked me to take a Harley out. He said, take it out for a good hour, enjoy it. 10 minutes later, I took it back. I thought there was no power, it handled useless, and I thought, absolutely no way I'm going to have one of these things. And I still kept going in for my free coffee. And one day, they convinced me to take another one out. Now this one had a Vance & Hines straight exhaust on it. It had a stage 1 Dynajet kit. The mini ape hangers had been replaced by like a pair of straight drag bars. And I took it out for a spin, and it was a whole different beast. I really enjoyed it. So I did a deal and I bought my Harley. So having my Harley and my Blackbird, I thought, that's it, I'm sorted. I've got two nice bikes which I can use, and life was good. Then one day I thought, when Blackbird's getting a little bit older now, getting quite a lot of miles on it, and luckily a mate of mine was selling a Blackbird. His was the injection version compared to my car version, and he was looking for the right sort of money for it. So I bought that Blackbird and sold my old one on. Around this time I sort of met up with an old girlfriend, and basically we settled down and got married. and she really wasn't into the bikes, but decided to just give it a go. But she didn't like the Harley, too noisy, too low, and just didn't feel safe on it. And by this time my second Blackbird was getting quite a lot of miles on, and I thought, well, we want to do touring. So in the end I did a deal with a dealer who basically did a straight swap for my Harley for a Kawasaki ZZR 1400, the Generation 1. When I got this bike, all I could say, well, wow, look, the power is just absolutely amazing. What a machine. If you've never ridden a ZZR 1400, go and try one. You don't know what you're missing. They're a fantastic bike. I had this for a while. We put some divvy cases on it, a rack, and we did a few tours, and yeah, we was actually enjoying it. It was only when I went to collect a CBR 600 for my stepson. He bought this bike just prior to passing his test, and when I brought it back home from the dealers, I was absolutely amazed on how responsive. It was still quick, it was still powerful. The one thing I really liked about it was how it handled in the corners, a lot more nimble than the ZZR, which then got me thinking, you know what, I want something like this. But I knew the CBR 600 was going to be too small for me and the wife and the cases for long journeys. So I went to look at the Kawasaki SX1000. Thought, yeah, that's a nice sort of in-between machine there. Took it out for a test ride, but there wasn't enough room on it for tour touring, not for us. So I thought, well, that's it. It's not going to be an option to get this bike. But I suppose as I've been offered a good price for me ZZR, I thought I'm going to change my bike anyway. So what else can I have? And then I noticed in the showroom they'd actually got a Gen 2 ZZR 1400. So I thought, you know what, why not? I'll just change it for that. Before I purchased this bike, the salesman did say, due to something about the different wheelbase of this bike compared to the Gen 1 and the different wheels, he said it will corner better and handle better, be a bit more responsive. I just thought, yeah, you know, typical twaddle. But actually the salesman was right. I mean, I never took it for a test drive until I bought it, you know, and when I first collected it, it did handle better, I'm pleased to say. I absolutely love this bike. I've still got it now, and you know what, I'm never going to get rid of it. Well, say never. I would change it for another one at some point maybe, but I will always make sure I've got a ZZR 14 in my bikes. Yeah, I just love them. One thing to take note if you're going to look at something like this is they say you can't fit a givvy rack and hard cases to this bike. Kawasaki say you can't, Givvy say you can't. Let me assure you, you can. If you look at my photos, you'll actually see one on it. The only thing is you've got to take those monstrous cans off it. You won't put them cases on with them exhausts. But I just had them took off, had a pair of Scorpions put on it, and the case fits absolutely fine. And I just, down to the one bike, I was just quite happy just to keep that. And then I fancied something a little bit different, and I noticed there was a Triumph Speed Triple for sale. Not the 1051, once again, they're too small for us. But the older version, the 955i, and I bought this bike and I had it for a year. I've since traded that in now and bought a Sprint ST 1050. Check out the video I've done on that. Do I think the ZZR needs a 1400 engine? No. I'm glad it's got a 1400. Oh yeah, you know, it's absolutely brilliant. I don't tend to ride fast. Being an instructor, if I get done for speeding, I can lose my right to teach, and that's my hobby. So I don't want that to happen. But I love acceleration. I love that 0 to 60. Providing you keep your front wheel on the floor, there's no law saying how fast you can reach 60 miles an hour. I like to know I've got the power, and it just, to me, it just makes it a more pleasurable ride. So basically, what is the best size of bike? Well, there isn't one. you know, the conclusion I've come is it's down to the individual. You know, I know people who have got small 250s because they like to rev the hell out of them everywhere. Same again with 400s. My stepson's got his CBR 600. Now, he doesn't barely take a pillion. He doesn't really go on tours on it. So, for what he uses his bike for, that is more than enough for him. It's got more than enough power, more than enough speed, and it's nice, light and agile. On me, on the other hand, I'm 6'2.5". I'm a large build, and obviously I'm going to go away on it, long journeys. My wife's on it, we put the cases on it, we have a tank bag on it, so I need a large bike. It's just what I do, you know. A small bike is just no good for me at all. But it's down to the individual to choose what you can get, what's going to be suitable for you, and what you can insure at the right price. So, you know, just do your research, look around, and just make sure you get the right bike for yourself. So I hope you found some of these things interesting, and I hope it will sort of encourage you to be selective and find out what you really want. So anyway, thanks for listening and watching. Please tick if you like it. Subscribe would always be nice too. Leave any comments below, and until next time, ride safe and bye for now.